Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Linus Gramat, one of the Kenya Elite Program GMAT trainers. In this video, we're going to focus on gerunds. Gerunds are parts of speech. They come in the form or as a part of what we commonly refer to as nouns. So let's begin. So gerunds basically are verb forms that take the form of nouns. Or what that means is that you'd have a verb, the participle form of the verb, then you add the word ing to the verb, after which you have the gerund. So for gerunds to occur, there are a couple of rules that must be followed and must be adhered to so that they stand out as gerunds. We'll look into deeper into that in our forthcoming slides. So as a general rule, an ing word without a helper verb isn't a real verb. So if the ing word is a gerund, you should be able to substitute a noun on its place. For example, you'd say dating is tricky. All right, so you can really substitute our gerund here with any other noun and you still have meaning attached to it. So for example, algebra is tricky, right? See, you can still establish meaning, or the meaning is still consistent. Gerund comes in can be applied to different scenarios or to different sentence structures. Let's start out with this example. I am boxing. So the the verb form is I am boxing. You can tell the use of helping verb am plus the gerund boxing. All right. You could also have I love boxing. All right. I, the subject, love our verb, boxing acts as a noun, or otherwise as what we are referring to in this session as a gerund, right? So note that you can easily substitute the gerund or the noun here with any other noun and still have meaning attached to it, right? So thirdly, you could have I wish Christian Bale was my boxing coach. So the adjective boxing is sort of describing coach, right? So if you try to substitute an adjective for boxing. Let's say I wish Christian Bale were my tall, handsome, famous coach. All right. So you can really tell that in this state, this is not a gerund. More or less, it's an adjective. Okay. Then you could have gerunds acting as subjects of sentences. So they will begin out a sentence or begin at the start of a sentence. Then the verb attached to that gerund must be singular. For example, telling a lie got him into a big problem, sorry. So telling gerund, a lie got him into a big problem. You don't say telling telling a lie got them into a big problem, all right? Or you could have surfing is a popular sport. Surfing, the gerund, is a singular form, popular sport, all right? Then you could have gerunds in prepositional phrases. So whenever a preposition is followed directly by a verb, the verb will be in gerund form. That is, you could have after our preposition, then the verb that follows the preposition is in gerund form, right? Gerund form. Could also have before leaving, then your sentence continues. Okay. You could also have gerunds in noun phrases. So certain nouns, when followed by certain prepositions, will always followed by a gerund. For example, choice of staying. This noun, then you have the preposition, then you have gerund form of stay. So choice of staying. Or you could have intention of doing, or method of cleaning, reason for skipping, possibility of getting. There are quite a number out there. Just note the structure of how these noun phrases are usually constructed. You have your noun, a preposition, followed by a verb in gerund form. Okay. Then you could have gerunds and pronouns. So when a noun or a pronoun precedes a gerund, it must be in possessive form, right? So for example, you have a sentence that is constructed in such a way that you have your subject followed by the verb, then possessive form of what is being described, then it must follow a gerund. We'll look at a couple of examples to illustrate this. So they resented, he's not telling the truth. They, our subject, resented, our verb, he's not, the possessive form. Okay, then you have the gerund. All right, so our neighbors complained about our playing loud music. Our subject, our neighbors, then followed by the verb, about our our playing possessive form, then followed by Gerard playing loud music. Look at also these two other examples. The policeman didn't like Michael's possessive form, followed by Gerard arguing with him. All right. We resented the man's telling us to leave. Okay, I believe that's clear. You could also go look out for examples in which this sentence structure of having the subject, the verb, followed by the possessive form of what is being described or talked about, or the object, plus the gerund. All right. So you could pause the video and attempt this example, after which you can play and you can listen to the explanation I'm going to give on how to tackle this. So our sentence reads, in the mid-1960s, a newly installed radar warning system mistook the rising of the moon as a massive missile attack by the Soviets. So, in the mid-1960s, a newly installed radar warning system mistook the rising of the moon as a massive missile attack by Soviets. Can already tell that we have a verb in Gerard form describing more or less, for this case, it's more or less of an adjective. So the rising of the moon, right? This is more or less a noun phrase where you have the adjective and the noun in it. Rising of the moon as a massive missile attack by the Soviets. You can already tell an idiomatic construction. So from your knowledge of idioms, you could tell that you know that mistook is usually followed by for. So in our case, we have mistook followed by us, right? Which is not correct. So any answer choice that you encounter in the 5 answer choices that you're given that uses this construction is sort of wrong, or is totally wrong, as a massive missile attack by the Soviets. So let's examine the answer choices that were provided. A says, mistook the rising of the moon as a massive missile attack by the Soviets. This is more or less a repetition of what is underlined here, and for the reason that there's an incorrect idiomatic construction, we eliminate this answer choice. The idiomatic wrong idiomatic construction here being the use of us instead of, or rather than use for, because mistook is usually followed by for. Okay. Answer choice B, rising of the moon for a massive Soviet missile attack. Yes, this follows the correct idiomatic construction. Furthermore, our Gerard in this noun phrase is actually correct, or in the correct structure. So we could keep B for the moment, then examine it later. C says, mistook moon rising, the moon rising to a massive missile attack by the Soviets. This noun phrase alters the meaning of what is being conveyed. What is being talked of as being mistaken is the rising of the moon. So, and here this answer choice is more or less telling us that moon rising, which is more of an action, all right, and doesn't really describe what the radar warning system mistook for, right? So for that reason, eliminate C. D says mistook the moon as it was rising for a massive Soviet missile attack. Already, this is too wordy. Remember, in GMAT, it hates redundancy 100% of the time. So for that reason, and for the fact that clarity in meaning is sort of obscured, no direct meaning attached to it, we eliminate D. E says, mistook the rise of the moon as a massive Soviet missile attack. The rise of the moon doesn't really describe the action, or doesn't really convey meaning. More or less, it is wordy and doesn't convey the direct meaning that we are trying to look for. So again, wrong idiomatic construction here, use of us instead of for. So eliminate E. Correct answer for this question is B, which says mistook the rising of the moon for a massive Soviet missile attack. Okay. So I hope from this example you're able to tell how the gerund is used in noun phrases, and how when not used in noun phrases it could be alter the meaning altogether. Hope that's clear.
You are watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show. Presented to you by Upstech America. Upstech America is a consulting company that helps immigrants find amazing higher education and job opportunities in the tech industry in the United States. You can find our programs by going to www.upstechamerica.com. Upstech America, we wake you up to the unlimited potential.
Can move on to the second example here. Could also pause the video to try the examples, then play after you're done. So the example reads, after establishing several lucrative deals in the Far East, the CEO of Brantford Industrial said that he wanted to encourage the expanding into promising overseas markets, the use of domestic suppliers for all materials besides oil products, and the acquisition of a more extensive distribution network. So what is obviously glaring at us in this example is that there is some form of parallelism in use for them because you have the commas here, then we have these three parallel parts. We have the acquisition of, let's start with the first one here, the expanding into promising overseas markets. Secondly, the use of domestic supplies for all materials besides oil products. And thirdly, the acquisition of a more extensive distribution network, the third parallel structure. So from your knowledge of parallelism, you should know that the different segments should be constructed in the same grammatical way. So anything that ignores or breaks that rule would be incorrect. Furthermore, we can also tell the use of possessive plus the gerund form of expand, the expanding, okay? So we really have to examine our sentence or answer choices to look for an answer choice that conveys correct meaning, as well as follows correct construction in parallel form, as well as see if from the lessons of gerunds and how they are used in sentence structures, if this construction is actually correct, okay? So question answer choice 1, the expanding into promising overseas markets, the use of domestic supplies for all materials besides oil, the expanding into promising overseas markets, the use of domestic suppliers for all materials besides oil products, and the acquisition of a more extensive distribution network. All right, in terms of parallel construction, this is more or less correct because the second part is actually correct. Now to this part where we have the possessive form plus the gerund, does it convey correct meaning? Because the there here stands in place of Brantford Industrial, Brantford Industrial. Okay, so is the use of there in its correct manner? From my own observation, the expanding into promising overseas markets is sort of complicated. The meaning is not clear. You're struggling to find meaning as to whom the expanding is attached to. So for that reason, although they have used possessive plus gerund form, doesn't mean the use of it can be constructed correctly, but meaning in context here is not actually clear, all right? So for that reason, eliminate A. The expansion into promising overseas markets using domestic products for all materials instead of oil products. So already we can see like that this one breaks the rules of parallel construction. This is not in the correct manner. The standard for what should really guide your understanding or whether the correctness of parallel structure would be the part that's outside the underline section. Okay, so this part here that indicates and the acquisition of a more extensive distribution network. So the other sentence fragments should follow this construction. So for that reason, that it doesn't follow this construction, this answer choice is wrong. C says its expansion into promising overseas markets. All right, you are able to tell that its will be referring to Brantford Industrial. So the pronoun used here is actually correct. Its expansion into promising overseas markets. Right, so here we can tell verb form, which is actually in the correct manner, into promising overseas markets. You can tell also a Gerard that is sort of acting as an adjective in this phrase, promising overseas markets. Basically, promising overseas markets, this would act as an adjective to this other part of the noun. The use of domestic supplies for all materials other than oil products. So for me, I feel this is sort of correct, and would return this to examine if the other answer choices are correct or incorrect. This says its expansion into promising overseas markets using domestic suppliers for all materials other than oil products. This already breaks the rules of parallelism, so for that reason, this answer choice is wrong. It's expanding into promising overseas markets using domestic suppliers for all materials except oil products. Okay, so it's sort of correct to the pronoun would be referring to the pronoun for the industrial, and it's expanding. Can tell another use of gerund form after the possessive form, the pronoun. So yes, so it's expanding into promising overseas markets. Again, this also breaks the use of or the rules of parallelism in regards to this sentence that we have here. So for that reason, eliminate it. So the correct answer to this question would be its expansion into promising overseas markets, the use of domestic suppliers for all materials other than oil products, and the acquisition of a more extensive distribution network. So C is the answer. So basically, that is all for Geralds. For these sessions and others like this, kindly join us in our GMAT trainings. We will elaborate more and give more examples to this effect. Thank you.